For 7 years, my wife Clara had a single, all-consuming obsession: having a son with me. I was fully aware that this wasn't about some outdated preference for a male heir. It was a calculated move to satisfy her mother and secure her claim to the $10 billion Vance family inheritance. I was so completely in love with her back then that I would have done anything she wanted, no questions asked. Over those 7 years, in a desperate attempt to earn even a moment of her genuine attention, I endured 5 strenuous rounds of in vitro fertilization alongside her. The result was 5 beautiful daughters, but their births didn't seem to earn me any more of her affection than I had before. It wasn't until our 6th child, our first son, was born that my entire world fell apart. The accumulated stress of those years, the constant appointments, and the physical toll my body had taken finally caught up with me. I suffered a catastrophic heart attack, and for a terrifying period I was clinically dead on the operating table. And my wife? She was nowhere to be found. She was off celebrating with her first love, Julian Croft, the one who had gotten away and had just recently returned to the country after a divorce. In that one clarifying moment of betrayal, my 7-year fixation on her evaporated. I was finally free. When I first regained consciousness in the sterile hospital bed, the only thing I could register was pain. It was a profound, world-ending agony that radiated from the fresh incision on my chest, making it impossible to think clearly. I had to consciously force my body to relax, to breathe through the fire in my lungs. It took what felt like an eternity before I could feel the sensation return to my arms and legs. Fragments of the doctor's conversation began to pierce through the fog in my mind. Massive heart attack. On bypass for 30 minutes. A full-body blood transfusion. We issued 3 critical condition notices. The final part I heard was, "It's a medical miracle he survived it all." I stared blankly at the ceiling, thinking, what is the real difference between this and actually dying? How did I end up in such a pathetic state? My scattered thoughts were suddenly brought into sharp focus by the sound of a baby crying, coming from a video playing on a nearby nurse's phone. That's right, the baby. For Clara's sake, this was our 6th child. I just never imagined the process would be so dangerous. But it was done now. I had a vague memory that this one was a boy. When we first got married, it was only after I had pursued her relentlessly for years, finally wearing her down until she agreed. The whole affair was rushed. We simply signed the legal documents without any kind of ceremony or celebration. No wedding. After we had confirmed the 6th pregnancy was a success, she had made me a sweet promise. She said if this baby was a boy, she would give me the grand wedding we never had. I had finally delivered on her deepest wish, and now it was her turn to fulfill mine. A small smile of anticipation formed on my lips, and I turned my head, expecting to see her. But the only people at my bedside were Clara's assistant, Marcus, and Mr. Gable, the man who helped manage my daily affairs. The warmth that had been slowly spreading through my chest instantly turned to ice. I forced a smile onto my face and asked, "Where is Clara?" At my question, Marcus and Mr. Gable exchanged a nervous glance. After a long, uncomfortable silence, Mr. Gable couldn't keep it in any longer. His voice trembled as he spoke. "Mrs. Vance. She went to be with Mr. Croft. I heard he just finalized his divorce from his wife overseas and is having a difficult time." Hearing that name, a familiar, bone-deep dread washed over me again. My heart, already fragile, seemed to skip a beat. In total disbelief, I asked, "I've been unconscious for this long, and Clara hasn't been here even once?" Marcus cleared his throat uncomfortably, while Mr. Gable nervously wrung his hands, looking down at the floor and saying nothing more. I asked for my phone, and with trembling hands, I called Clara. The first call went straight to voicemail. I refused to give up and dialed again. It rang for a long time before she finally answered, her voice dripping with impatience. "Work has been absolutely insane. What is it?" I knew she didn't love me. As long as she was discreet about her affairs, I typically chose to look the other way. She always used the work excuse when she was out on dates with them. My usual response was to swallow the bitter taste in my mouth, pretend I didn't know, and gently remind her to get some rest. But today, I couldn't pretend anymore. My voice shook with a mixture of pain and anger. "Busy with Julian, are you?" There was a brief silence on the other end of the line before her voice turned frigid. "What is that tone? Are you questioning me? Have you forgotten the terms of our marriage? What right do you have to ask about my private life?" Perhaps it was the intense physical pain, or maybe it was the residual terror of having been so close to death. Whatever the reason, all the emotions I had suppressed for years finally erupted. I started sobbing, my heart completely broken. "For you?" I cried. "I almost died on the operating table. Do you even know that?" I expected her to show at least a tiny bit of guilt, some remorse. But all I got was a cold scoff. "Nice performance. That's the same line your sister used. Did she coach you on what to say? Are you just panicking because you know Julian is back in the country? You've been through this process 5 times before. You know how it works. Do you really think that ridiculous story is going to trick me into coming back?" But she was the one who had always told me to cherish my own life. How could she say something like that to me now? Tears started to fall. Big, heavy drops that I couldn't control. I was gasping for air, choking on my sobs, unable to form words. She seemed to be saying something else, but the incision on my chest suddenly felt like it was being torn open, and the wave of pain made it impossible to listen. Seeing my distress, Mr. Gable rushed to help me lie back down. The phone fell from my grasp, landing next to my ear, and I heard her final words just before she hung up. "All right, cut the act. I'm sick of it. I don't care if you live or die. Julian is in a very fragile state right now. If you pull any stunts and upset him, I will make you regret it." The warmth, the last flicker of hope that had been inside me since I woke up, finally turned to solid ice. Fragile state? I had just been pulled back from the brink of death. I was in a fragile state too, but who was here to comfort me? I threw the phone to the side and just sat there, completely numb, letting the tears stream down my face and soak into the blanket. Mr. Gable looked on, pained, and hurried over to wipe my tears away. "Sir, you can't get so worked up right after major surgery. It's not good for your heart." Marcus, fearing I would lose control completely, went to find a doctor who promptly gave me a sedative. The cold liquid slowly flowed into my veins, and it felt like my entire body was turning cold along with it. A long time later, a thought occurred to me. I asked Mr. Gable in a hoarse voice, "Clara said my sister was here during my surgery." Mr. Gable has been with me for years. He knew that my sister and I did not get along. He looked down again, wringing his hands nervously. "Yes, sir. When you had the heart attack, the surgery required a signature from a family member, and someone needed to pay the hospital bills and handle all the paperwork. I'm just an employee. I don't have that kind of authority. At the time, I couldn't get a hold of Mrs. Vance, and the Vance family elders aren't considered immediate family, so I had no other option but to call Miss Sinclair." I tilted my head back, staring blankly at the ceiling. My heart ached, but it felt as if I had already cried out all my tears. Nothing more would come. In the midst of my sorrow, a bitter, self-mocking thought crossed my mind. We had known each other for 3 years and been married for 7. The wife I had loved for a decade was less reliable in a life-or-death crisis than the sister who had hated me for just as long. Before I met Clara, my life was something out of a depressing soap opera. Until I was 18, I didn't even have a proper name. I had been switched at birth by Greg, a driver for the Sinclair family, and he had dumped me in his rural hometown. He projected all his resentment for the wealthy onto me, beating me whenever he felt the urge, and frequently locking me in a dark, cramped closet. Before I was returned to the Sinclair family, there was hardly a spot on my body that wasn't covered in bruises or scars. On my 18th birthday, Greg couldn't resist the urge to visit his biological son, Julian, and that was how the secret was finally exposed. I remember that day vividly. I had been secretly saving money for years just to buy myself a small birthday cake, something I had always dreamed of. I was never allowed to use the table in the house, not even when Greg wasn't home, so I carefully placed the cake on the floor and made a wish with every fiber of my being. I wished I could go to school. I wished I could get away from Greg. But the very moment I opened my eyes, a group of men in black suits carelessly walked in and stomped on my cake, crushing it under their feet. And just like that, I was identified as the true heir and taken back to the wealthy Sinclair family in the capital. They even gave me a distinguished-sounding name, Ethan Sinclair. I thought that fate was finally smiling on me, that all my suffering was finally over. But as I tried my best to please everyone in my new life, I quickly realized that I didn't fit in at all. Even when I did nothing wrong, I had to endure the sneers of my sister, Sophia, and the faint disgust I saw in my own parents' eyes. Even though Julian Croft hadn't been sent to the countryside with Greg, in everyone's mind, I was still the villain who had stolen all the love that was rightfully his. It all became worse when I started attending the same school as them. With Julian and Sophia's silent approval, I became the target for nearly everyone in the school. Until I met Clara. In a dark alleyway, she threw punches with abandon, chasing off the group of boys who were tearing at my clothes. Then she took off her own school jacket and tossed it to me. I just stared at her, stunned, breathing in the clean, distinctly feminine scent of her jacket. She laughed at my reaction, shaking out her sore hand as she crouched down. "What's wrong? Cat got your tongue? You don't know how to put on a jacket?" She was so beautiful. I quickly looked away, clutching the jacket to my chest. "If you give this to me, it's just going to get dirty and ripped up sooner or later. You should take it back." She tilted her head, confused. "Take it back? This old thing isn't worth much. You go to a prep school. Why do you care about something like this? I haven't seen you around before. Who's your family?" With a stone-faced expression, I told her my ridiculous life story. I fully expected her to burst out laughing, just like everyone else at school who knew my history. But surprisingly, she didn't. She silently put her jacket on me, grabbed my hand, and marched me directly to Sophia. Then, without saying a word, she punched her right in the face. As Sophia stared back, a mix of anger and confusion on her face, Clara pulled open my shirt, revealing all the bruises. "Sophia, take a good look at him. Can't you tell who your real brother is?" Sophia was frozen, and I could see the shock and disbelief in her eyes. Maybe there was even a hint of guilt, but there was no trace of a sister's love for her brother. After a long silence, she finally turned her head away. "My only brother will always be Julian. If you like this country bumpkin so much, you can have him as your brother." Clara didn't hesitate, grinning back at her. "Fine by me. At least I'm not blind like some people who pretend they can see. This brother seems to have a lot more of a conscience than the one you're so busy protecting." Back then, I was too slow to understand the hidden meaning in her words. I found out later that her first love had been Julian Croft. She hated Julian for breaking up with her because he wanted to be with other people, and she couldn't stand the way Sophia always defended his actions. So she poured all her kindness onto me, protecting and championing the very person they all despised. I've always cherished my own life, but no one had ever protected me the way she did. So even when I learned the whole truth, even when I knew she didn't love me at all, I still loved her, willingly, year after year. But 10 years passed, and time wore her down. She became just as hateful as the people who used to bully me. If that's the case, then I'm done. After I had calmed down, I called Sophia. The call connected instantly, much faster than when I called Clara. I silently mocked myself. For a moment, I didn't know what to say. That punch from Clara all those years ago must have awakened a tiny spark of sisterly duty in Sophia. She stopped actively targeting me. She just didn't like seeing me around and preferred to ignore me. So, after all these years, I still didn't really know how to talk to my own sister. I hesitated, but before I could speak, she spoke first. "You're awake?" It was a pointless question, but it betrayed her own uncertainty. I managed a small laugh and went along with it. "Yeah, thanks for saving my life, sis." Sophia fell silent again. After a moment, she said in that same cold, hard tone, "Don't get the wrong idea. Julian was cheated on and emotionally abused in his marriage abroad. He just got divorced and he's in a bad place. I can't stand Clara, but they were childhood friends. Julian needs her to take his mind off things. I just didn't want anything to happen to you that might bother them." I knew it. Of course she wouldn't care about me otherwise. A bitter taste filled my mouth. I squeezed my palm tight and managed a smile. "I get it. And you don't have to worry. You saved my life, and I just wanted to thank you. That's all." I hung up the phone and leaned my head back again. I stared at the ceiling, my eyes wide. Mr. Gable was right. I couldn't get worked up and risk my health, but this was the only way to keep the tears from falling, I thought to myself, laughing silently. Maybe it really was just bad karma. The two women I wanted to rely on most in my life were both obsessed with Julian Croft. After I hung up, a red, 1-inch notification popped up on my social media app. I clicked on it and saw it was a new post from Julian. He had tagged me to make sure I'd see it. According to the location tag, he and Clara were in Finland. There was only one picture. Them kissing under the northern lights, a rare sight in the summer. The caption read, "With my princess in a fairy tale kingdom." I used to see Clara as the princess who saved me from the depths of hell. But this post felt like Julian reminding me that no matter how hard I tried, there would always be a place for him in Clara's heart. I greedily zoomed in on the picture, staring at her face. It was the first time I had ever seen such a genuinely happy smile on her, a smile she never had when she was with me. I looked at that picture-perfect photo. I had thought she was a gift from heaven sent to save me, which is why I clung to that hope for dear life. But in reality, she just made my life a bigger mess. What's the point? I thought, annoyed. Just to practice the act of letting go, I liked Julian's post. But the next second, he deleted it and sent me a direct message. "Hey bro, my bad. I know you don't like Clara and me being together. I meant to hide it from you, but accidentally tagged you instead." Julian was always dramatic. I was very familiar with this fake persona. I replied coolly, "It's fine." As expected, when he didn't get the reaction he wanted, he showed his true colors. He sent a smirking emoji, followed by, "Is it really fine? Don't say I didn't warn you. If you die of a heart attack, Clara will want you even less. Now that I'm back by her side and you two have a son, who do you think is the useless husband now?" My phone kept buzzing with his messages, but I couldn't be bothered to look. In all the years since I returned to the Sinclair family, I had grown used to his vicious insults. If it hadn't been for his influence back then, Sophia would never have hated me so much. I frowned and typed back indifferently. "Whoever it is, it has nothing to do with me anymore." Then I blocked him. The moment I did, the panic that had haunted me for years seemed to lift. It turns out, letting go was that simple. I took a deep breath and called Clara. The second she answered, I spoke before she could. "I have good news. I'm setting you free. Clara, let's get a divorce." The other end of the line went silent. After a long pause, she finally spoke, her voice low. "Just because I wasn't there one time, how long are you going to keep this up? After trying so many times, we finally did what my grandmother wanted. Are you really okay with it throwing it all away? What was there to be sorry about? I'd almost lost my life. Wasting any more time on her was what I would truly regret." I gave a silent, bitter smile and said flatly, "Even though you haven't been great to me all these years, I can tell you're a good mother. I trust you to raise the children, and I'm freeing up the position of Mrs. Vance's husband for Julian Croft." Clara scoffed, her voice suddenly lighter, but with an edge of irritation. "I knew it! You're still throwing a tantrum because of Julian. He told me everything. He said your arrival pushed him out of the family, causing him to develop depression at a young age. He even said going abroad was your idea. None of that matches what you told me. Ethan, he's technically your brother. Do you have to be so malicious?" The more I listened, the more I wanted to laugh. I laughed until tears started to well up in my eyes. "Ha ha, I'm malicious? Ha 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 ha, I hurt him? Are you saying that I, a kid from the countryside who had to save for 3 years to buy a piece of cake, who couldn't read, who endured the ridicule of my entire school and my own family, who was covered in injuries, that in the end, he's the victim? Clara, I once thought you were the light of my life, but if you think that way too, then there's nothing left to say." She was quiet for a moment, then cleared her throat. "Don't be crazy, that's not what I meant. A divorce between us involves a lot of things. We'll talk when I get back. In the meantime, you should think it over." I covered my mouth, breathing slowly to calm myself. "There's nothing to think about. When are you coming back?" A bright laugh suddenly came through the phone, and she quickly hung up. Before she did, she said coldly, "None of your business." Hearing the dial tone, I couldn't help but let out a bitter laugh. My wife of 7 years cheated on me with my technical brother while I was on my deathbed, and it was a case of none of my business. The phone slipped from my hand. The bitterness in my heart grew heavier. I said I was going to let go, but hearing her doubt our entire past because of a few words from someone else still hurt like hell. God, she wasn't the light of my life, was she? She never was. I waited a whole month, but Clara never came back. During that time, I followed the doctor's orders, and with Mr. Gable's nutritious, home-cooked meals every day, my body finally started to recover. When the sun rose, the world seemed brighter, and my body healed faster. But a month was too long, a whole month. If we had been able to file the papers the day I called her, we'd have the final decree by now. I couldn't wait any longer and was about to call and push her. But then she called me first. As soon as I answered, Clara yelled, "Where have you been? Why aren't you home yet? You dump 5 daughters on the nanny and leave your newborn son at the old family house? Is that your idea of being a responsible father?" I held the phone away from my ear, waiting for her to finish before I said patiently, "I'm in the hospital. I've told you that many times." She paused, her tone a little strange. "It was just a minor heart procedure, wasn't it? What's the big deal? How long are you going to hide out in the hospital? It's been a month and a half." I frowned. "I had a massive heart attack and almost died on the operating table. I'm pretty sure I told you that too." She hesitated, then said instinctively, "Is that true? I thought that was just an excuse Sophia made up." I had completely lost my patience and sneered, "If you're not going to believe me, why even ask?" I was about to hang up when her assistant Marcus's voice came through the line. "It's true, Mrs. Vance. The day of the surgery, Mr. Gable couldn't reach you, so he contacted me. By the time I got to the hospital, they had already issued the 2nd critical condition notice. The doctors said he might not make it. Do you know what a heart-lung bypass is? It's when they stop the heart and use an external machine to do its job. They said they stopped his heart. He was basically dead for half an hour." "Shut up!" Clara snapped, cutting him off. Marcus, unable to bear it, had already trailed off. I, on the other hand, was listening with great interest. It was terrifying, but surviving a near-death experience really makes you appreciate life. In the grand scheme of things, nothing matters besides life and death. Clara was silent for so long that if I hadn't heard her heavy breathing, I would have thought she'd forgotten to hang up. Finally, she spoke, her voice hoarse. "I'm sorry, I thought... How are you now? Does it still hurt?" I leaned back on a bench downstairs, looking up at the blue sky, and smiled faintly. If you had asked me that a month ago, when I first called you, I might have whined a little and said, "I'm used to it, it doesn't hurt." But now, I don't feel anything anymore. Not in my body, not in my heart. I don't know if she heard me. All she said was, "So, is this why you want to divorce me?" I just said, and didn't say anything else. Clara took a deep breath and said slowly, "Okay, this was my fault. I agree to the divorce. Don't worry, I'll give you a fair settlement. But the kids..." I cut her off flatly. "I told you, you can have them all. I only went through all this with you time and time again to make your wish come true. I don't want to see your kids in my life anymore. It's annoying." She was stunned, then almost laughed in anger. "What? They have your blood in them too. Aren't they your kids? As a father, how can you say something so heartless?" I sneered. "You know damn well whether I've been a father in the Vance family all these years or just an accessory to a baby-making machine. If you even saw me as a human being, you wouldn't have put me through this over and over again. As for the divorce, I don't want to drag this out. I've already had the papers drawn up. Don't worry, I'm not stupid. I'll get every penny I'm entitled to. They're right here at the hospital. Cut the crap and come sign them." Clara laughed, a laugh of pure anger. "Fine, you just wait." For some reason, Clara stalled again. I waited from sunrise to sunset, but she never showed up. Instead, the first person to arrive was Julian Croft. Maybe in everyone else's eyes, he was an innocent, naive boy. But with me, he never bothered with the act. He brought a few bodyguards in black, kicked open the door to my room, and threw out all the staff and nurses. With no outsiders to report back, Julian's face completely changed. Just like 10 years ago, he lunged at me, slamming me against the wall and wrapping his hand around my throat. "You bastard! How are you so lucky? Even a heart attack couldn't kill you. So you've learned to play the long game, huh? You really want a divorce? All that talk is just to use the kids and the divorce to make Clara feel guilty, isn't it? Today is my birthday, you know that? But she took one call from you and went to see my sister. And now neither of them is here. 10 years ago, you showed up and took everything from me, and now you're doing it again. But it's my birthday. What gives you the right to ruin my birthday?" His face was contorted with rage as he used all his strength to pin me down, looking genuinely unhinged. As the pain and suffocation set in, my survival instincts kicked in, and my mind became surprisingly clear. To deal with a psycho, you have to fight like a psycho. I looked him straight in the eye and gently grabbed his wrist. I tried to sound as calm as possible. "Go on, then. If you're so mad, just kill me. Even if your bodyguards kicked everyone out, they know you were here. If I die right now, you'll be the prime suspect. And all that love and protection they feel for you will turn into guilt over me forever. They will hate you for the rest of their lives." Julian's eyes flickered, and his grip loosened instantly. I was about to push him away when the door was kicked open again. It was Clara. She froze, then yanked Julian off me, screaming, "What are you doing?" I could finally breathe again. I coughed violently, the taste of blood filling my throat. When I looked up, Julian's expression had completely changed. With tears glistening in his eyes, he smiled tragically. "Clara, it's my birthday today. Did you forget? I didn't want to hurt him. It's just... You promised you'd spend the day with me, but then you disappeared after one phone call. I was just so scared, so scared." He muttered a few more things, his eyes vacant, then suddenly grabbed his head. "Ah, don't hit me. Help, Clara, my head hurts so much." Clara's face was grim. She had started to walk toward me, but at his words, she stopped. Her expression softened, and she sighed. "It's okay, Julian. Calm down. I'm here. Don't think about those things. You know you can't get too emotional." I watched the whole scene, a cold smile on my face. Julian's acting was incredible. It was a shame he wasn't in Hollywood. He was the one who had almost killed me. And now he was the one crying and winning her sympathy. Wiping his tears, Julian suddenly broke free from Clara and sobbed, "It's my fault. I'm the one who stole 18 years of his life. I'm the one who messed up his marriage. I'll give it all back to him." He shook off Clara's hand and ran out of the room with red, swollen eyes. Clara instinctively took a few steps after him, then stopped, as if remembering something. She rubbed her temples wearily and said to me, "Don't mind him. Julian was really traumatized by his last marriage. He was doing a little better after our trip, but today, he's probably just in a bad mood." I pulled down my collar, revealing my raw, bleeding neck. Forcing the words through my sore throat, I demanded, "Look at me. Being in a bad mood gives him the right to kill me? This is my life, not some toy for you people to play with." Clara looked at my injuries with a complicated expression. Finally, she closed her eyes again, exhausted. "So, what do you want? He already apologized to you." An apology was supposed to make up for almost dying? His apologies must be worth a fortune. I wanted to argue with her more, but looking at her face, I lost the will. As soon as we were separated, all of this would be over. I pulled out a stack of papers and said flatly, "Sign the divorce agreement. Meet me at the courthouse tomorrow morning to finalize it." She held the papers, laughing in exasperation. "You're really something else. When you wanted to get married, that was all you could talk about. Now that you want a divorce, it's all you can talk about. Fine, I'll sign. Just don't come crawling back to me." She picked up a pen, about to sign. Suddenly, a nurse's scream came from the hallway. "Mr. Croft, please calm down. This is the 7th floor. Whatever's wrong, we can talk about it. Don't jump." Clara's face changed. She dropped the pen and paper and rushed out. Just before she did, another figure flashed past her. It was Sophia. I watched her go, a bitter smile on my lips. Why was it so hard to get away from these people? Julian wasn't going to kill himself. He made a huge scene, but it was all bark and no bite. The moment Sophia and Clara arrived, he fell backward and fainted into their arms. After getting Julian settled, Sophia came to my room. The hint of warmth from our phone call was completely gone. She slapped me hard across the face. "Julian is a kind person. Even if he went after you, he was just trying to scare you. Why did you have to provoke him? If I had known you were such an ungrateful bastard, I never would have signed those papers outside the operating room, and I certainly wouldn't have paid to save you." I gave a bitter laugh, about to argue back. But Clara frowned and pulled her away, instinctively retorting, "That's enough. They're both your brothers now. Julian is safe, isn't he? Why are you being so nasty?" Seeing her only made Sophia angrier. "So you admit they're both my brothers? The one in this hospital bed is your husband, so why are you always stringing Julian along? Are there not enough men in the world? Do you have to mess with my family?" Clara and my sister never got along, and she wasn't about to back down now. "Ethan is my husband, yes, but Julian and I grew up together. He was hurting. He needed me. Was I supposed to say no?" They argued more and more fiercely, and it looked like they were about to start throwing punches again. I didn't care what they did to each other, but I didn't want them wrecking my hospital room. I forced my voice out through my sore throat, yelling, "Enough!" At the sound of my voice, Sophia froze. She finally noticed the injury on my neck and looked shocked. "You?" I had no interest in dealing with her. I turned to Clara. "Sign the divorce papers. I'll be waiting for you at the courthouse at 9 a.m. tomorrow. After you sign, if you two want to keep fighting, get the hell out and fight all you want. The next morning, I finally got my wish and went to the courthouse. We got through the process smoothly. As we were leaving, Clara hesitated for a moment, then grabbed my wrist. "Julian was triggered yesterday, and it was ultimately because of you. My sister and I are throwing him a belated birthday party today. You should come too, as an apology." I smiled, feeling good. "Sure?" I knew about this party. Even if she hadn't told me I was going to go. The truth is, I had kept the evidence of Julian bullying me in high school all these years. Countless times when people around me were judging him versus me, I wanted to pull out that evidence and show them what their innocent boy was really like. But I was always too much of a coward, too used to putting up with it. And because I loved Clara so much, I couldn't bear to shatter her image of her perfect first love. So I never showed anyone. But the hatred was always there, inside me. Now that I've let go of the past, I don't have to put up with anything anymore. I took the invitation from Clara and didn't bother changing. I went to the party in my hospital gown. I knew I'd stand out at a place like this. People looked at me with scorn. My own parents kept their distance. Only Julian, the master actor, saw me and immediately started playing the victim, his eyes red. I know he doesn't like me. He doesn't want me back in the Sinclair family. I can apologize to him. But today isn't just a make-up birthday party. It's also the welcome home party Mom and Dad threw for me. For him to show up dressed like this. Isn't he just trying to humiliate me? Clara frowned at me. "You've been a stay-at-home dad for years. Have you forgotten all your manners? This is a major breach of etiquette at such an important event. It's completely out of line." I faced them all calmly and smiled. "You think this is out of line? The worst is yet to come." The screen in the center of the hall, which had been showing a photo of Julian, suddenly went black, flickering as if it had malfunctioned. Then a younger, more boyish voice, Julian's from when he was 18, blared from the speakers. "Is the camera on? Did you guys get that bastard's clothes off yet?" Julian's face went pale. He was about to stop it, but I stepped forward and grabbed his arm. "Keep watching. Isn't this your favorite video?" The camera angle shifted, pulling back a bit. A high school-aged Julian, in his school uniform, had his foot on my face, flashing a peace sign at the camera. The camera panned down. My clothes were almost completely torn off, not covering anything important. I was trying to hide from the camera, curled up in a ball. Pushed to my limit, all I could manage was a weak cry, my accent thick. "Please stop bullying me, okay?" The Julian in the video laughed as if he'd heard the funniest joke in the world. "Me, bullying you? Am I? Aren't I just bullying a worthless mutt?" He kicked me over, and the clothes I'd just pulled together fell open again, exposing me to the camera. He patted my cheek condescendingly. "You remember this. You're just some trash from the countryside. You have no right to take away my sister's and Clara's love for me, and you certainly have no right to a piece of the Sinclair family fortune. So what if I'm not their biological son? As long as Mom and Dad acknowledge me, I'll still get a piece of the inheritance when they die." The video ended. Everyone was silent. I kept looking at the screen, my smile unwavering. Julian himself sent me that video back in the day. It used to be my darkest memory, a part of my past I never wanted to revisit. Every time I watched it, my fear of him grew. Thankfully, after dying once, I wasn't afraid of these things anymore. More and more hostile glares turned toward Julian, making him so scared he could barely stand. He squeezed out a few tears, his voice trembling. "Dad, Mom, Sophia, listen to me. It was edited. Someone was pretending to be me. It was all an act. This was all a conspiracy planned by that bastard Ethan. You have to believe me." The disappointment my parents usually reserved for me was now directed at him. They didn't even look at him. They just turned and walked away. Clara violently shoved Julian away as he lunged for her. He then stumbled toward Sophia, crying pitifully. "Sis, you love me the most. You believe me, right?" I smirked and tapped my phone a couple more times. The main screen lit up again, this time playing the video from the hospital of him choking me and losing his mind. As luck would have it, the smart glasses with a built-in camera that I'd bought to pass the time had arrived that day. And so I had captured the entire thing from a first-person perspective. The point of view was so immersive that everyone in the room felt like he truly wanted to kill me. Sophia finally saw the malice he had always held for me. She glanced at the still bleeding bandage on my neck, and finally she slapped Julian hard across the face, her expression one of utter disappointment. "Julian, ever since Ethan came back to the family, you were always crying to me, making me feel sorry for you. I once swore I'd protect you for life, as your sister. I never imagined you were two-faced all along. Your last name isn't Sinclair. From now on, don't call me sister." Julian broke down, sobbing hysterically. At his favorite party, his very own birthday party, he was finally truly abandoned by everyone. I watched it all with cold indifference and slipped away in the chaos. His true colors were exposed. Whatever happened next had nothing to do with me. I didn't want the Sinclair family coming over to offer me fake comfort out of guilt. And I certainly didn't want to see Julian's phony apologies. Everyone envies the wealthy, high society families, but to me, the people here are all so fake. I went back to the hospital to continue my recovery. My body was almost fully healed, and I was about to be discharged, but that chokehold from Julian had done some serious damage to my throat. The doctor said it would be best to stay for a few more days of observation. Fine by me, with Julian ostracized by everyone. The dark cloud that had been hanging over me for years finally lifted. I felt a sense of relief I had never known before. At the hospital, my days were filled with eating, sleeping, and reading the history books I never got to in school. When the weather was nice, I'd go down to the garden below the ward to sunbathe. After the big scene at the birthday party, Clara probably didn't have the nerve to show her face around me again. However, my children, as if under someone's orders, started showing up every day. 5 daughters and 1 son. The oldest was 6, and the youngest was just over a month old. From Monday to Sunday, like they were on a schedule, one of them would be by my side for a few hours. The ones who couldn't walk yet were brought by the nanny. I could guess this was all Clara's doing. I let her do whatever she wanted. When the kids came, I just went about my business, pretending not to see them. On Monday, it was my eldest daughter Maya's turn. At her age, she couldn't sit still for long. She drew for a few minutes, then lost interest and rested her head on my lap, looking up at me boredly. "Daddy, aren't you better? Why won't you come home with me? The little ones really miss you. Oh, and Mommy misses you a lot, too. I see her drinking wine and holding our family photo all the time, and she's always saying your name." Usually when the kids tried to speak up for Clara, I just ignored them. But tomorrow was the day I'd get the final divorce decree, so I was in a good mood. I smiled, flipping through my book, and said softly, "In the past, your mother wanted a tool to produce a son. Now she wants a husband who will take care of the family. What she really wants has never been me." Maya didn't understand. She just said innocently, "But isn't that all you, Daddy? I think Mommy is thinking about you." I didn't explain further. "It's not the same," was all I said. Maya didn't get anywhere with me and soon got sleepy, so the nanny took her home. That evening, the person who appeared before me was Clara. She seemed to have had a lot to drink. The smell of alcohol was strong enough to make me frown. Her eyes were red, whether from the drinking or something else, I couldn't tell. She looked at me for a long time, before finally speaking, her voice hoarse. "I know what you're mad about. I can apologize. I grew up with Julian, but I honestly had no idea he was so cruel. It was my mistake. I'll admit it all. But what right do you have to tell our child that I wasn't thinking of you? You can't deny my love. If I didn't love you, why would I have agreed to marry you? Why would I have let you go through IVF so many times with me? If I wanted to, I could have known the gender of the embryo every single time, but because they were the result of our love, I didn't want to screen them. She took a deep breath, looking straight into my eyes. You only know that my wish was to have a boy, but you don't know that it was the only way my mother would ever accept you. From the very beginning, I just wanted you to be accepted by the Vance family sooner. I was over Julian a long time ago. I only spent a few days with him because we grew up together. There were no other feelings involved. Now, Julian's been sent back to the countryside, back to his real father. There's no one to interfere with us anymore. Can't we just live our lives peacefully? The children need you. I looked at her indifferently and sneered. Are you done? You're only saying all this because you've seen Julian's true colors and you feel guilty. You say I'm denying your love, but in 7 years of marriage, I never once truly felt your love. If letting me die on the operating table is what you call love, then I'm not fortunate enough to receive it. Do you have any idea what kind of shape my body is in after running around with you for all these years? Clara froze, finally taking in my pale face, which still hadn't recovered even after 2 months. This time, I finally saw a flicker of sympathy in her eyes. She sighed heavily. I know. That's why I want to make it up to you. Give me a chance to make it up to you. Let's not get divorced, okay? Too late. For all these years, my love for her was built on the fact that she had saved me and that she valued my life. But over these past few days, I've finally figured it out. Instead of loving her, I'd rather cherish my own life. I was tired of dealing with her. I said coldly, no thanks. If you don't want me to end up a psycho like Julian from post-surgery depression, then stay away from me. Like I said before, I'm giving you your freedom. You give me mine. Finally, I sighed. I'm begging you. She looked deeply into my tired eyes. After a long moment, she said bitterly, okay, I promise, I'm sorry. The next morning, I finally got my divorce certificate. As per the agreement, my ex-wife got full custody of the children. I heard a reporter had snuck into Julian's birthday party and exposed everything online. The high school bullying, the affair with his brother-in-law's wife. It caused a huge scandal. The scandal hit the Sinclair Corporation's stock price hard, causing heavy losses. Even the Vance Corporation was affected. The Sinclair family, who had been talking about holding a formal banquet to officially welcome me back, were now too busy dealing with the mess to bother me. Afraid of getting entangled with them again, I got the doctor's approval and checked out of the hospital as fast as I could. Without the kids, without the obsession I had to chase, without the fearful past, my world was finally completely quiet. And it was only after finding true peace that I realized I had barely lived for myself in the first half of my life. As a child, I was trapped in the countryside. As an adult, I was trapped in the Vance family. Right now, what I want most is to feel free. I picked up my camera and set off on a journey. I'm going to document every beautiful moment of my life. From now on, my lens will only capture beautiful scenery and me. I'm going to be the one and only star of my life.